This is Terms of Reference. I'm your host, Stephen Laddick. ElsaMarie De Silva is the managing director of Safecity.in, a website that uses crowdsourcing to identify locations where women have experienced or witnessed any type of sexual harassment. ElsaMarie is an experienced aviation professional. In 2003, she made a career switch in order to improve the lives of women, youth, and senior citizens through awareness, interaction, and education. She's also trained in both directive and non-directive counseling. ElsaMarie is a Vital Voices Lead Fellow and an alumni of the Swedish Institute. I spoke with ElsaMarie in Mumbai. Hi there, Elsa. Thank you so much for being on the Terms of Reference podcast today.
Thank you, Stephen. It's a pleasure to be on.
And where am I calling you today?
I'm in Mumbai in India.
Okay. I hope, you're on the other side of the planet from me, so I hope that the weather's well for you over there.
Yes, it's pretty good out here.
Elsa, we were turned on to you by your initiative at Safecity. Why don't we start by, can you tell us what Safecity is and what the initiative is and what it plans to achieve?
Safecity is a crowd map that documents personal experiences of sexual harassment and abuse in public spaces. It collects stories or experiences that people report of what happened to them and organizes this data at the back end, which then shows up on a map as hotspots, which also identifies location-based trends. So that's what we do. You can check our website at safecity.in, and you'll see a lot of reports that we've collected from all over India and Nepal on people's personal stories. So when they do report, they can do so anonymously by sharing what happened to them, what time did it happen, and the location where it happened. If they choose to leave their name and email, that's totally optional and is not seen on the front end of the site.
What's your role with this? Are you you're the founder? This was your concept, your baby, or were you an investor?
I'm one of three co-founders. We are three women who started it, and I manage it full time. So I'm the managing director of Safecity at the moment.
Let's talk about you for just a second before we dive into some of the more intricacies of the service. I know that you spent a good deal of time in a different profession, as an aviation professional. What inspired you to make the leap from that profession to this one?
I was in aviation professional for 20 years. I started off as a cabin crew, and then I was a flight safety instructor where I taught pilots and cabin crew safety and emergency procedures. And then I got through a management program, which was an internal one, that took me into the strategic side of the business, that is revenue management. I then joined another company, another airline, in their startup phase, and I ended up being vice president network planning, where we planned the route network for the airline. And about 2 years ago, this airline underwent financial difficulties and went into a downturn. And I had to, figure out what I wanted to do with my life, whether I wanted to take up another corporate job or, pursue what I think was one of my dreams, to do something on my own. It was also at that point in time that I was selected for a management program by the Swedish Institute that they have for India. And the program was focused on corporate social responsibility. And it was there that I met my two co-founders, and we started to discuss various issues that we were facing in India. And we decided to work together on women empowerment. We also heard about a similar initiative where people were crowd mapping sexual harassment in Egypt. And we thought what a cool idea that was, because we had faced sexual harassment and it was quite relevant to us. But we thought it would be our second project after we had launched a mentoring platform for women. But when we returned from the Swedish program to India, there was a rape in India. This young lady was brutally raped and beaten to death. And this shook the whole country. It angered a lot of us, and we felt, the mentoring platform could wait, but we needed a solution for safety and security of women. And that's what propelled us to launch this platform.
How long has the platform been online?
It'll be 2 years at the end of this month. We launched on 26 December 2012.
And what's the user data look like? Is it really ramping up quickly, or are you still looking for ways to get the word out for it to take hold?
Yes, you see, in India, we have several issues. One is that women don't really talk about sexual harassment or atrocities that they face. So even if they were to know of this platform, it takes a bit of cajoling to get them to share their stories. Second is India is a very large country. It's a subcontinent. So, we have managed to collect several stories from different parts of the country. However, we still need to make ourselves known throughout the country for it to be really at the top of mind recall.
Mm-hmm. And I see women can, or anyone can interact with the site, using multiple methods, Twitter, email, phone calls, these kinds of things. What's the way that people are most interacting right now?
Actually, the most interaction has happened with our on-ground volunteers. So one is people can go to our website and, place their reports. The other, social media. We do have a very active social media presence on Facebook, and we have a curated account on Twitter. We've designed Safecity in a participatory way where people can share what they're thinking about the issue, because it's really very personal and sensitive to several people. So we want them to use this platform to express their views and opinions on the subject. The other is we have volunteer teams comprising of young college-going youth who in turn go to other colleges and high schools and talk about sexual harassment. They may put up street plays, or they may be part of another campaign that is happening, or a, college fest that is taking place. But they talk to young people, get their reports as well. We also do workshops for different age groups, and our workshops are designed to educate and inform on the topic, as well as the rights, personal rights and the laws of the land on sexual harassment. And then we do a very interesting bit which is called Taking a Stand, where we challenge culture, norms, attitudes and stereotypes that exist.
Do you find that it's important that you stay focused on India, and you said Nepal as well, at this stage, or does that give you the ability to be more location specific and relevant to individuals?
We are focused on India. Safecity is focused on India. Nepal, I attended a program, and this lady in Nepal was struggling to, keep her project called the Pink Bus going. Pink Bus is a women-only transportation. And there is a serious issue in Nepal where women do not have enough transportation options, and the ones that they do have are severely overcrowded, making it unsafe for them to travel in. So when we discussed how, Safecity could help, we said you can start documenting all these experiences that people are having, and once you have a certain number, you can then use it to lobby for your change. Mm-hmm. So we just offered our platform. We don't really do any physical work in Nepal. The work is being done by SEEW Nepal and team, and we just help them with the data analysis. So in reality, our platform is being used by them, and we are physically just focused on India.
Okay. In essence, could that platform be used by other countries anywhere in the world as sort of a licensing option?
Yes, not licensing option. I mean, I'm part of the Vital Voices Lead Fellowship Network as well. It's a women-only leadership group. And some of the other women's organizations in Africa expressed an interest that they would like to also use the platform. So I offered the platform, and I said, if you can use it as is with very little technological changes, then there's no cost to me and there's no cost to you, and you can just use it as is to document. And if you need help in data analysis, we can help you with that. Otherwise, we can give you a data file every on a frequent basis, and you can do the data analysis at your end itself. But it's important to document, and it's important to start this process. so that you have evidence when you do want to bring about that change, or you want to support any kind of application or support any kind of campaign. And so they said, well, we don't have the money to ask for any technological change, and we'd be happy to use it as is. So, they started using it, and that's how, we've helped them, and it kind of works for everyone.
Sure, and so very organic. How did you build it? What, you and your two co-founders had this idea when you were in Sweden, or was it Switzerland? Sorry. And you came back with the idea, and then did you outsource the technology? Are your co-founders IT professionals? What was that process like?
So none of us are IT professionals, but we had heard about, like I mentioned, we had heard about this similar platform in Egypt, and when we got back, we kind of researched it. They use open source technology called Ushahidi. So because it's open source, it's easily available, and luckily for us, at that point, we had some friends who came forward to pitch in on the tech part of it, and this friend of ours put it together, and he hosted us. He still hosts us on his own server. So he runs his own tech company called Media's U, and he, went out of his way to help us on this.
That's fantastic. I'm thinking right now about some of the potential controversy with this type of service. I'm looking at the map online right now on safecity.in. Have you received any pushback from localities as they become a quote-unquote hotspot for sexual harassment or incidents as they're reported? Or do you foresee that becoming a problem in the future?
So at the moment, we haven't received any pushback from anyone, whether individuals or whether communities or administration. I think people, I think the idea resonates with people because, when we talk about what we are doing, they all think it's a good idea. And the idea is basically to make this information available so that you can stay safe. We believe we are in the preemptive space where we are giving you information so that you can make the most informed choice for your own safety. So, for example, if you knew that you were going to a location that other people had reported as prone to a particular type of sexual harassment, then you could decide whether you wanted to go by a train or bus or take a more expensive option like a cab. You could decide what time of day you wanted to go, if you were more comfortable going during the day as opposed to the night. If you still had to go, would you go with somebody else or would you still go alone? Even what kind of clothes you wore. Because, that could be a way to keep you safe. Not that we are saying that, if you wear certain type of clothing, you're more prone to it. But this is India, and you have lots of different cultural contexts. You have religion, you have culture, you have caste, you have class, you have ethnicity. So keeping all that in mind, when you hear and read about other people's stories, you can make the most informed choice,
Mm-hmm, definitely.
And then as a community, if you were living in a hotspot, do you want to change that? Do you want to do something different? Do you want to involve your neighbors or get people around you to also make that change? Or put pressure on the police to make that change? So we are giving you that kind of information which earlier you probably would not have had, or it may have been anecdotal,
Two-part question here. How do you measure the success of Safe City India over time? Is it the number of reported incidences, or is there another needle you're trying to move in terms of, as you just described, a community saying, hey, we're getting a lot of reports and we want to do something about this? How are you expecting to measure your success?
So combination of both. So one is the reports, because it's not easy to get people to report and share their stories. So now we are finding that people are willing to talk about it and come forward. The second is these little actions of change, so from where, you have people on a report commenting to say that, so I'll give you this one example. This lady in Bangalore, anonymous reporting, she reported that she had to cross a particular stretch to get to her office every morning. And that, she had to pass by a group of men who are intimidating people. And there was this other guy who wrote on that post to say that his office is nearby and should she need any help, she could give him a call and he would have his office boy accompany her through that stretch. You know? So now those kind of
that's real-time one-on-one interaction. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Or you have people on Facebook, like when we post, we try to use Facebook as our platform where we showcase the work that we are doing on Safecity, as well as if there are certain reports that have come in or current issues, like what has been picked up in the media. So now we do a lot of workshops, and now we have people writing in to say, can you do a workshop for me, or can I attend a workshop? Because, how do I talk to my child about sexual abuse? Mm-hmm. So now you have people coming forward, and also in addition to that, then you have people who want to take up little local actions for change. So, for example, in a suburb in Delhi, you have this lady who's very interested in using data. First of all, mapping the issues in her community and then involving the right influential people to bring about that change. The other is working with an NGO in another part of Delhi. They work in low-income neighborhoods, and we already did workshops for the girls in that neighborhood. Now we are going to be mapping with the girls the safety of that area, and then with the NGO, we lobby for change either with the police or with the municipal authorities or with the community themselves. Because ultimately the community has to decide what is the solution that they want for themselves. We cannot dictate that for them. The other is the School of Planning and Architecture in Delhi. Their students are also urban planners. Some of them are urban planners. And this girl, there was one student who reached out to us because her thesis was on understanding what makes a place safe for women. And she needed our data because this data doesn't exist anywhere. And it helps her identify what are the unsafe areas, and she's picked one of the top 3 areas in Delhi, and now she's going to do a reverse study. How can it be made safe from a women's perspective? Mm-hmm. And then you have another group of people, law students from a different area in Delhi, who reached out and said, can you help us map the area and understand this area better so that we can then drive change as part of their own project? So that's how we are helping different groups of people, whoever needs our data, to bring about change. And then we have the workshops, which is a more direct feedback through the feedback form. Like, did they know anything about sexual harassment before the workshop, and now do they know it better? Did they know the laws before and after? And why do they want to report now on Safecity as a platform? Or would they like to attend another workshop? Or would they like to volunteer with Safecity? So we measure all these things because I think that's very important to know, would they be willing to talk about it in future?
How do you fund this thing? It sounds, you have a ton of activity. I'm sure that you have lots of volunteers, but India's a pretty big place. I'm sure there's more than enough work to go around. How are you keeping the fire on?
Funding is always, a very sensitive topic. So for 2 years, it's been self-funded, and to be very honest, in terms of actual money spent, it's been very little. I mean, not counting the compensation of my time and effort. But otherwise, we've had tremendous support from people around where they've contributed in skill, time, effort, technology. So we've not really had to spend too much of money. The whole of last year, we were just observing the space. And this year, we started the registration process for our entity. It just got completed at the start of November. And now our revenue model is based mainly on workshops or sponsorships from corporates. So we are starting to get the money in. It's not yet there completely to sponsor my time and effort, but at least we have 2 people on payroll as of last month, and their salaries are being covered by the revenue that is being generated by the workshop. So I think I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but yes, that's how we funded it so far.
Sure. And that's always the most difficult question for any new initiative, especially a social venture like this. So for you in particular, are you, you seem to have your finger on the pulse of pretty much everything that's going on right now. Are you spending your time mostly fundraising? Are you giving workshops? Are you doing administration? How do you split your time up?
So this is a startup and this is an NGO. So one ends up doing a lot of everything. So yes, I conduct workshops and I spend time fundraising and I spend time doing the, paperwork as well. But, I was a part of the startup team in the airline, the second airline that I worked with, and we did pretty much the same. So I guess if I put in the same effort for my own organization, I'm going to benefit at the end of the day. And it doesn't bother me, but yes, right now we are in startup phase and all of us are, are pitching in and doing things that we would normally not, always like to do.
That's okay. So what do you think? You've just sort of described how your revenue model, you see it shaping up. You clearly have a number of activities and you're even starting to receive lots of great stories about how this application is affecting individual lives and total communities. What does this look like 5 years from now if you're successful to you? Where are you going and where's the organization going in 5 years?
It's always a very difficult question to say what will happen 5 years from now. But our vision is that to be the one data repository for information on safety of locations. So for example, today, if you wanted to watch a movie or read a book or go to a restaurant or book a hotel, you know specific websites where you can get reviews on all these things. And you would most probably base your decision based on those reviews. However, when it comes to safety of a location or an area, we don't have that kind of intelligence or that sharing of information easily available. At the most, you would have an advisory at the country level from your embassy or whatever. But it doesn't really tell you the true picture of what's happening on ground. And we are trying to create that database. So I would say 5 years from now, I would like to be the TripAdvisor of safety ratings of location.
Wow, that is bold. I like that.
Yeah.
Just two more questions. One of them maybe a little more difficult. This has been so far a 2-year venture for you. As with every, not only startup, but every NGO, there's hiccups along the way. When was the last time you completely failed in this venture? Either made a wrong choice or, something didn't work out or a workshop just didn't go the way you wanted to? And how did you learn from that experience and, do better the next time?
So we started off completely as an online platform. We received, because of the angst at that point in time, we received a lot of positive feedback and, a lot of media attention and stuff like that. But, slowly we realized that you cannot only have online presence. You do have to have an on-the-ground presence as well. And that's how I think 6 months later, after we launched, we started to seek out volunteers and started our on-ground program. Then working with volunteers is not also very easy, because they have exams or they may get distracted. And honestly, they have 10 better things to do than giving their time to a cause. Fortunately, we've been very lucky to have some few key people who were really passionate. And I think it's because of the issue, They identify with the issue and some of them have been abused as kids, so they really want to give back. And we were fortunate that they chose us to, spend time with. Secondly, we realized that when you work with very young people, you have to give them the flexibility to design their work, in the way that they would like to. So, whilst the issue is a little serious and heavy, yet there's no harm if they enjoy what they do or they have a little fun doing it. So they've done freeze mobs, flash mobs, they've done street plays, and they've done video interviews on ground, and they enjoy doing all those kind of things. So I think you have to be flexible enough when you work with young people. And unlike a corporate setup, in the corporate world, you have deadlines that have to be met, and you're always pushing yourself to meet goals and stuff like that. In the social world, it's a bit slower. And it took me a long while to recognize that. It was frustrating in the beginning, but then now, I keep the broader picture in mind, and I don't get really upset if things don't go as per plan.
My last question is one that I ask every guest here on the Terms of Reference podcast. You decided to make the leap to being a social entrepreneur and essentially working to help others after a successful career in aviation. What advice would you give to others who are either similar to yourself, who are looking to make a transition, or someone, as you say, you work with a lot of young people who want to make this type of thing their career? Is there a bit of advice that you'd put out there as critical?
Yes, I think there are a few things that one needs to keep in mind. One is, you have to have a strong financial and stable nest egg, I would say, before you take the leap, because the salaries are pretty low, and if you are the founder, maybe it will take you a while before you can see any money coming your way personally. Second is, choose what you wish to focus on, because choose it very carefully, because the issue is very, very important. You cannot start work on an issue and then because you lose interest, you give up. There are a lot of people who depend on you, so choose your issue very carefully. And third is, you have to be patient, because unlike the corporate world, things have their own time and pace over here. So you have to be cognizable of it,
Elsa, thank you so much for your time today. I really, really appreciate it. This has been a fascinating talk.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it too.
You've been listening to the Terms of Reference podcast from Aidpreneur.com. Subscribe to us on iTunes.